Some claim the age of a true gentleman is far behind us, but here at Tweet 4 Media, we disagree. He may appear in different guises today, but the values and ideals that make him a gent still stand. Gentlemen, aspiring gentlemen, and of course, our partners that hold us down. I'm Ron Grant, and we are in the heart of Season 7. Believe it or not, where we feature the best and brightest of the art of a distinguished gentleman in the British Virgin Islands. Of course, it's not about suits and bow ties, but instead real-life lessons that truly translate to grounded, community-minded, well-rounded people. Thank you all for taking this amazing journey with me. My guest today is no stranger. He is the voice, the one and only Hashim the Dream, who keeps us entertained as an entertainer himself, whether it is on the radio, at a party. He is the vibe and the art between and behind the creative process of music. He has blessed us with his talents and, of course, his amazing voice. And we're going to sit down and talk about his journey today. We'll be right back after a quick commercial break. Brilliant Hands and Minds tutoring services, one-on-one tutorials in math and English, intense homework assistance, academic enrichment, school projects, effective communication and public speaking development, sign language for adults and children on Saturdays only. Registered with the Virgin Islands High School Certificate Program, Brilliant Hands and Minds can help you too. Offering intense curriculum-based training to help you or your loved ones get their high school diploma. It's time to make your family's education a #1 priority. Hurry, space is limited. Brilliant Hands and Minds Learning Center. We are the trained education professionals. Welcome back, everyone, and thank you so much for sticking with us. As promised, our guest today is the one and only Hashim the Dream. Hashim, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence and accepting the invitation, first of all.
It's a pleasure to be here, Ron. Big fan of the show.
Awesome. Wonderful.
Definitely. It's about time.
No, as I mentioned, lending your voice and your talents through entertainment to the world. We know you as a DJ, a radio personality. You keep my company on the way to work in the mornings, and I know a number of other people. You keep the hot topics fresh, bringing to the forefront in a very relaxed and fun way some of the issues that a lot of people are dealing with on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Where did entertainment come about in your life? Where did it start?
I really wish I could say that there was a focal point where that it was always a part of me in some way, but growing up, I was a very shy and reserved kid. I always had a talent of singing. I grew up learning different instruments and everything like that, but I was never the one to step forward and put myself, out there. Even if I would probably, fantasize, I would dream about it sometimes. But I guess it had to be, the opportunity was forced upon me, I would say. I think in second form, my school had an award ceremony and function, and my principal teamed up with my mother to and coerced me. I think that's the nice word to put it, into performing on stage. And I sang David Rudder's High Mass, which has always been my favorite song. Even when I was a little kid, that was the first song that I ever fell in love with. And so I went on stage and I was scared out of my mind. But as I began to sing, my body just moved with the music, and I moved with the crowd interactions. There were politicians in the crowd at the time, one of who was actually sleeping, and he actually woke up to the applause and the action that was taking place. And I think that was the catalyst that it wasn't the moment when I realized it, but it was definitely the catalyst that springboarded me into what I wanted to do with my life.
Amazing. Yeah. And since then, the journey has continued. Recently, you put on your very own show where a number of guests got to sit and enjoy and see you in a very different, very relaxed environment, and you were able to give of your gifts in that setting. What did it mean for you to take that recent opportunity to step back out there again and just bless us and allow people to receive it?
Let me tell you, Ron, when I really look back and reflect on it, well, one, I've always wanted to host my own concert, but the fact that I did it in this particular year after all the things that I've been
We're
through,
gonna talk about that.
you
Yeah.
know, it definitely put into perspective, how quickly things can change. And so I was really humbled and grateful because people who attended that show were people from all walks of life, whether they were fans of my music from when I first started when I was 15 years old, or people who have jumped on board, people who I've gotten to know only in the past 3 or 4 or 5 years, people I've known all my life, people I've sung in choirs with, that I partied with, that I've worked on music projects with. I felt so connected to the audience in that way, and I knew I wanted to do that acoustic setting because it was
Hmm.
just something. It was just something different, something out of the norm. Because I don't particularly sing the type of soca that identifies with the Virgin Islands. I'm a very multifaceted fusion kind of artist.
Got you.
And that obviously comes from the background that I have. But to actually pull it off was certainly a dream come true. Definitely brought a tear to me after it was all said and done. And again, especially coming off of the year that I've had,
Hmm.
it was something that I didn't think I would have been able to pull off, but somehow I did, and I was definitely grateful for that.
And we're grateful that you're able to do it as well.
Hmm.
I want to mention the fact that I mean, you are born and raised in BVI, but
Hmm.
in your immense level of travel and interaction with a number of different ethnicities, you've spent quite some time in Trinidad
Yes.
and formed a remarkable bond and relationship with a number of regional artists. I want to
Hmm.
talk about you dedicating that time
Yeah.
in Trinidad and elsewhere to perfecting the craft and really taking the time out to spend time with some of the most beautiful and talented people across the region within
Yeah.
entertainment. Tell me about that.
It is a blessing I don't take for
Mm.
granted because, particularly in that realm of soca, the names that I know are, household names: the Destra Garcia, Bunji Garland, the Kesses, to the new age household names of the day: Nyla Blackman, Irfan
Mm-hmm.
Alves, Voice. The fact that I know these people on some sort of personal level is something that I don't take for granted. But it is part of the dream that I always wanted for myself to be, an established artist, an established name. Ever since I discovered that music was my passion, and growing up, even though I didn't start initially singing soca, soca was always a part of me, and it just occurred to me one year that that is where I needed to be. So 2011, I took a break. I was attending HLSCC
Mm-hmm.
at the time, and I decided to take a break. I had made this very rough soca single, my very first try at soca. It's called "Ready to Jam." Don't bother go looking for it. I doubt you'll find it anywhere at this point, but I know somebody will, most likely. But yeah, I took that song, and my aunt who lived in Trinidad at the time became my pseudo manager, and she put me in front of a lot of different faces, and that's how my name started to sort of buzz. I was going by a different name at the time. It wasn't Hashim the Dream just yet. Again, if you know, you know. That's
We're
a
not going there.
yeah. We're not going there. But that was really the first step for me to jump into an industry where I knew these names, grew up listening to them, admiring them, wanting to be them. But now to be rubbing shoulders with
Mm-hmm.
them,
Mm-hmm.
backstage in the same shows as them, even if they just gave me a passing hello, to be acknowledged in that way was the motivation I needed to move to Trinidad permanently. And
Understood.
I spent the better part of 7 years living there and really pushing, not just myself but the Virgin Islands. I always identify that, yeah, even though I'm very Trinidad influenced because of my mother. That's where she's from. You know, this is where I was born and raised, and this is where the talent was originally honed.
Mm.
And so, taking the raw talent that I learned from here and refining it by watching the masters at work in
Yep.
Trinidad, attaining my performing arts degree from the University of Trinidad and Tobago. It was all the building blocks that eventually identified me as a performer and as an entertainer.
Wonderful. You spoke and mentioned your aunt, but you also spoke about your mom. I want to
Hmm.
mention and highlight the fact that in all that you do, there's always been quite a huge family bond and support.
Yes.
Tell me what that means to you and how it's propelled you.
I don't think I would have gotten nearly as far as I would have gotten without the support of my family because my parent I remember my parents sent me away in 2007 to a camp in North Carolina. It was to help boost my academic mind. I came back from that experience wanting to write songs.
Hmm.
To this day, my mother doesn't know how that happened, but
Yeah.
one thing that she didn't do was try to kill that dream,
Hmm.
you know. And as my father has always been a strong rock. He said, if this is what you want to do, make sure that you have the education to back it up. His stance was always that make sure that education comes first. Make sure that you have that if this is what you're pursuing, have a paper that says that you're good at it. They can't deny you anywhere. And so having that support from both of them meant the world to me because that was all I needed to move out into the world and really pursue it, knowing that they had my back no matter what. And of course, having a huge support system family wise
Hmm.
in Trinidad, because my mother came from a big family. She had five siblings. So, and of course, staying with my grandparents who are both now passed, God rest their souls, but being able to stay there, be among them, it really the in the formative years of my adulthood in particular really defined who I was as an entertainer moving forward.
Understood.
And don't get me, my grandmother, I miss her in particular
Okay.
because she was always so very active, and she may not have been able to come out to the clubs with me when I was emceeing or hosting, but please believe if I had a huge concert, like if I was going to the Soca Monarch,
Hmm.
or if I was going to be performing in one of the big theaters, she was there with bells on, full African garb, and being that's my grandson, front
Beautiful.
row, front and center. So
Amazing.
it was always an amazing support to have.
Beautiful. Ladies and gentlemen, we are chopping it up here with the man himself, Hashim the Dream, who is literally living the dream and gracing us with that gift and talent. And we're going to take a quick commercial break, but we'll be right back.
The wait is over. CCT Fire is here. Experience ultra fast downloads, seamless streaming, and even more reliable connectivity on an all-new fire-blazing super fast CCT Fiber network. CCT Fire. Bring it home and upgrade today.
Welcome back, everyone, and thank you so much for sticking with us. We are here with the one and only Hashim the Dream. Hashim,
Mhm.
you mentioned earlier about all that you've been able to accomplish this year, particularly with the acoustic concert and getting back and doing a lot of the things that you love.
Mhm.
Uh, it was a challenging year. It's been some
Yes,
challenging moments for you,
absolutely.
health wise.
Hmm.
I want to talk about that. If you
Hmm.
are okay
Of
with
course.
sharing that, you've shared the journey publicly before.
Hmm.
Tell us about that journey and coming out of it. Um, Successfully.
Yeah.
How has that been?
Not an easy road, but most definitely not. And it started initially back in 2022. You know, those who know, I moved back to the BVI in 2019, and basically brought all the knowledge that I gained from Trinidad back here with me, and was slowly just starting to rebuild my name in the community because obviously there were people here that knew that I was gone. I was out there doing my thing, but having to come and really gain a proper foothold here in the BVI, develop a proper fan base here. And I was basically on my way to doing that up to 2022. And that's when I had my first pneumonia attack. And it was it was harsh. But I chopped it up to the circumstances that it came under because I was doing a show in Rich and Gorda. Um, I didn't bring a pair of dry clothes. It was very windy that night. So, all those elements I put together was like,
Hmm.
okay, you know, it was an off thing. I just got to be a lot more careful with that. But it happened again in the same year, you know, again under similar circumstances. But I'm like, okay, that's probably a little too close for comfort. And then I went a full year without any further incidents until December of last year when I was like full on hospitalized. with pneumonia, among other things that was happening. So clearly something was evidently wrong. And that's when I was flown out to Puerto Rico where they ran proper testings and they found a tumor lodged in the center of my left lung. And and from there it was just the I spent the better part of the first half of the year basically preparing to for a surgery that
Mm-hmm.
would eventually remove it. Now, because of where the tumor was, I was going to lose half a lung in the process. There wasn't any way of working around that, unfortunately. So at first I was taking it all in stride. This is it's really I don't know if this is if what do you call it? I doubt it's coincidence because I literally just came from the radio talking
Mm-hmm.
about we did we I do therapy we do therapy Tuesdays
Mm-hmm.
once a week, and the question today was literally how often do you cry?
Mm.
Yeah, and obviously it was targeted at everybody, but asking that question as a man particularly is a very tough question,
It is.
you know and throughout the entire ordeal, other things were going on. My grandmother also passed during this time, so obviously I had to deal with that grief as well. And then, but the ordeal and the fear of all of the consequences that could occur from this surgery, none of it was truly hitting me, and I couldn't particularly answer the question why. Maybe because I was trying to be optimistic.
Mm-hmm.
I know for a fact that I was trying to keep it positive because my mother was beside herself. She was definitely, awash with worry,
Mm.
but it all really didn't hit me until several days after the surgery. They took me out of intensive care, but of course, I was still very weak. I couldn't move. I I couldn't piss.
Mm-hmm.
I don't wish that on anyone, Ron. Anyone. My voice was absolutely shot. I didn't know if I would be able to sing again, much less
Understood.
walk around and perform on the stage. And all of the emotions just
Mm.
hit me at once. As like, is this really gonna be the end of everything that I
Worked so
wanted?
hard for you.
I worked so hard for, and man, it was a rough night, Ron. I cried like I never cried before in my life. I thought I started speaking in tongues and all. It was a rough night, but it was essential to really start my determination to heal. Once I had let go of all those fears and insecurities, my only focus was just getting back on my feet, getting back to doing what I love most. And I don't know why my decision was to share this with the public, but by this time, obviously everybody knows who I
Mm-hmm.
am, and to an extent, people knew that I was hospitalized previously. But I wanted to share this with the public because I I knew at this point that words have power, and the content that I make, people watch and they see, they listen. While I can make you laugh, I also want to inspire you. I want to motivate you to let you know that, okay, if I can make it through this, there's no excuse that you can't make it through whatever it is you're going through.
Understood.
And the messages that I would receive while I was recovering, you know, people thanking me because they were either going through something similar, and when watching you share your journey has made me so much stronger and hopeful for mine. Those words, they really touch you and inspire you to keep motivating people. And trust me and that's not an easy burden to bear as a public figure, and especially around the time several people in our community, we lost them to
Mm-hmm.
similar circumstances. Rest in peace. And that definitely hit me as well, because I was like, I didn't even know. you know so the fact that that journey was I was able to share that journey, and more importantly, inspire and motivate people to say that,
Yes.
hey, I'm gonna make it through this. We're gonna make it through this, and I made a promise to y'all. I'm gonna be on a stage this summer to make sure that we have a good time. And I'm so grateful and
You were able
thankful
to do it.
I was able to keep that promise.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I want to say, and express gratitude to you for allowing yourself to be vulnerable to not only in this setting but other settings to have shared your
Hmm.
testimony and shared your story.
Of course.
Oftentimes we don't do it. We prefer not to. But even in the content
Hmm.
that you create as an entertainer, you asked the question today earlier about crying and how often
Hmm.
one cries, allowing us to have an opportunity to answer some very tough questions
Yeah.
and bring some matters to the forefront, especially as men, matters of the heart,
Hmm.
literally matters of the heart,
Definitely.
that we could connect with and most importantly bless somebody else. So thank you so much.
Absolutely.
In hindsight, all that you've been able to accomplish so far, what would you say is ultimately next for you in not only the discovery of self, but in continuing to bless us with your gift?
I can't say for certain what the future holds. This time last
Hmm.
year, um, I would have never imagined half of the things that I went through, be it surviving the tumor or holding my own concert. You know, one thing I've learned, particularly since being home, is that nothing is forever set in stone.
Hmm.
My ideal and eventual goal is to really be that full world class entertainer that everybody believes that I am. Because there are days, of course, that I don't believe it. You know, whether it being that there are other people in my field that are doing so much better than
How
me
do you
or
get through
seemingly
those? How do
do
you get through
so
those
much better
days?
than me. Prayer,
Okay.
definitely prayer, motivation and reflection. One of my listeners actually gave an amazing acronym on the show today about crying, and I think I'm gonna use it a lot moving forward. The acronym is WAYS, and she said it stands for Why Aren't You Smiling?
Hmm.
And I found that to be so impactful because, like, yeah, you're over here bitching about why you aren't as far as this artist that you know as a peer. But look at everything that you've accomplished. Do you think that they would have been able to do the same things that you did? Their story is not yours.
Correct. Yeah.
Their journey is not yours. It may seem like they're far ahead, but you don't know the struggles that they're facing either. You have to count the blessings that you have and be grateful that there is an opportunity for you to continue this journey. So when I heard that acronym this morning, I was like, yeah, I have to
Hmm.
incorporate that into my life and my motivation, not just as an entertainer, but just as a man in general. Ways, why aren't you smiling? Particularly in a world and a society that we live in, Ron, where we are always so quick for the complacency, to the negativity, whether it is, oh Lord, look what Shawande spending money on now, or oh Lord, water bill running again, or the water is cut off again.
Hmm.
Why can't we look at the ways? Why can't we look at the positivity that happens at the same time? There are so many things to be positive for in this country. And we take it so for granted. And then I blink twice, I scroll down my timeline and I see children in the Middle East who will never know parents or will never have a proper childhood because evil people have decided that they live in a part of the world that needs to be destroyed. We have never, and pray to God we will and never experience those
Hmm.
things here. For all the flaws that we have, we live in a paradise and we have and are blessed with many opportunities to make a difference in this part of this globe that we live in.
You're absolutely right. And our ability, while we should never settle, I do agree with you that we
Of
have
course
a
not.
lot to be thankful for, and we're very quick to not pay attention to those.
We
And it's
are,
very important that we remember that. So thank you for highlighting that.
of course.
I want you to speak to the up and coming, the next generation of entertainers, content creators.
Hmm.
It is so interesting to me that we are, and I'm proud of it, where we're moving towards a space and a time where persons are allowed to use their talent.
Hmm.
And they're more and more, we've allowed persons to use that talent use that creativity to propel. But there was a time, and in
Yeah.
some cases there still is, where an entertainer really Hashim, or a broadcaster really Ron. Like the TV business don't make no sense. That
Who you telling?
all these
Who you telling?
negatives and attacks where because you don't fit that cookie cutter mold,
Right.
you're being asked to change. I want you to speak to that next generation of artists, creators who may be inclined to give in to the pressure of wanting to fit into that cookie cutter mold, male or female. What do you say to them?
It is it is something that that I'm privileged to be able to say all the time because of course, as you know, I was a teacher
Yes,
for a
we both
number
were,
of
yeah.
years. So I have this whole generation, this young generation that is coming up. So many of them, particularly, in the past few years, have followed my content creation journey. Have been so eager to say what video is coming next, what video is coming next. Even some of them who are making content now is like, hey, I watch you all the time. You're so fluid with your creation, and you inspire me to be better. When really and truly, you guys are doing some stuff that I still do
Makes
not
you
know how
marvel,
to do,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it marvels me at the stuff that you guys are doing. Big shout out to Isaiah. I love his YouTube channel. I
Yes.
love the way he talks with the community about anything random and just makes it entertaining
Yep.
and fun. Shout out to Dakari. He's an amazing filmmaker. He's always front and center with his camera capturing everything. Big up Leo in Virgin Gorda. All of these amazing creators. I love that we live in the society where we can make this happen. But of course, I know at the same time we have not broken through
Mm-hmm.
that barrier where people can see this as a legitimate
Still have a ways to go.
career. There's a ways to go in that. And of course, there are barriers here because of the part of the world that we live in where you really can't make the money. But those days are slowly coming to an
Yes.
end. And to this next generation, I want to say, please don't give it up. Whatever you have to do on the side to make it happen, make it. If your 9 to 5 has to be the hustle that you do to make your dream a reality. I never viewed my teaching job as my main job. My teaching job was my hustle so I could make my dream happen. My dream is my 9 to 5, and it's not a 9 to 5. It's my lifestyle.
Mhm.
You know, whatever I do on the side I always consider that as the side, even if it makes more money than what I really want to do.
It's to facilitate and to
It
move that
has it
forward.
facilitates my real goals. And that's what I think that's the advice I want to give to you. Whatever you have to do to make your dreams happen. It's the same thing I would tell students who are frustrated. Why do I still have to come to school? I was like, do what you have to do now so you can do what you want to do later. School doesn't last forever. I snapped my fingers twice, and the students that I taught in first form are
Yep.
about to graduate now. And I think, where did all that time go? These are young adults now. They were like adult shaped kids when I first met them. Now they're young men and women ready to go out and change the
Yeah,
world.
yeah.
And I was privileged enough to at least, to teach a lot of them and teach some of them even how to sing and hone their own voices. They still tell me every time that they have a performance or they're hard on themselves. And I'm like, I get that because I'm the same way. So in a way, you kind of inherited some of my own, self-critiquing abilities. But I look at you guys and I'm just like, you guys are golden.
Amazing. And
You
I do
guys,
sincerely agree with you.
you
Some
know, you guys,
amazing talent.
I'm not worried in the slightest when you tell me. I'm
Mm.
saying, all right, cool. Let me know how it goes. But I already know in the back of my head, you're gonna kill it.
Amazing.
And I love the fact that I had that opportunity. I never took teaching for granted even before I became a teacher, but post that job, I appreciate it so much more now that I can see someone that I taught and said, I had some influence, some motivation in your life. And for all the young people of this generation, particularly my creatives, the future is in your hands. You know, just like people who paved the way for me, Jeremy Vanderpool, Andre Bradwick, Kamal Georges, Lincoln Ward. I grew up admiring so many entertainers of the previous generation, but they paved that road so that a lot of us can do what we do now. The things that Brent Hoyt does,
Yes, yes,
Richard
yes.
Sonny Jr., Monet, Press the Button, J Cav, all of them. We all had our own people to look up to, but now we, in our own way, have opened doors for the people that are coming behind us.
Absolutely.
And I don't think about it very often because I still see myself as not having hit the pinnacle that I want to reach yet. But every time, every now and again, I blink and I think, wow, there's a whole league coming back behind
Full
of us,
barrage.
and it fuels you to keep pushing further, but it makes you feel good at the same time that you had something to do with that.
Absolutely,
You know?
absolutely. Well, I want to thank you so very much for allowing yourself the vulnerability to always give of your best through your music. We sincerely appreciate you. You have a lot of persons out here who appreciate your gift and are rooting for you. So continue to impart, my brother, your very best to the next generation of greatness. And I think while we don't say it enough, we are proud of you, and we give God thanks that you are, most importantly, able to continue doing what you're doing. So look forward to all the great things, but keep doing the damn thing.
I appreciate you, my brother.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Got you.
Viewers, you heard it here on season 7. We were chopping it up with the man himself, the one and only Hashim the Dream, of course, gracing us with his voice, entertainment-wise, and keeping us privy to a lot of the issues. Keep bringing the topics to the forefront, the topics that persons don't usually want to list. I want to thank you so much for sticking with us, enjoying this season with me. We'll be right back next week.